So thank you guys for coming. This is the first cutting tournament the Boston Sword Gathering is going to have, and it's the third one in North American HEMA and the third one this year. So that makes it a pretty awesome year as far as that particular aspect of this goes. And for the benefit mostly of spectators, I suspect, because I'm willing to bet that what I'm about to say is something that everyone who's participating already agrees with me on. Why do a cutting tournament? Because free fencing only tests one aspect of what a real fight would be like, of what the martial arts as a martial art actually is distinct from combat sport aspects of it as well. Cutting also only tests one aspect of it, and by dint of having a combination of that being what you're tested on, we get a better approximation or a better understanding of what's going on. So let's see. So I'm going to illustrate this point just a little bit more clearly. Tristan, can you come here for a sec? Simply because this is how I like to demonstrate it. So go just put your sword on my shoulder here. So who won this sword fight? Well, if only one of us could cut, then one person won this sword fight and the other person didn't. And so that's why it matters, in my opinion. Because the ability to cut also has to do with whether or not you would end a sword fight. And in that vein, it's not just as simple as yes or no, can you cut or can you not cut, so much as every time you get a chance to hit the other guy, you have a chance to inflict damage, and you want to maximize the chances that the hit you do would be sufficient to end the fight. It's not possible to always throw a fight-ending hit. You want to get as close to that as you can, as often as you can. And we want to do that with the things that are most likely to end fights quickly as well. Recorded history of duels and whatnot include plenty of examples of people who took wounds that were ultimately lethal, but managed to keep going for a surprising amount of time. And so we shouldn't just assume that one hit is necessarily going to end the ability of the other person to fight, even if it does eventually end up lethal. And so that's why we look at cutting as being a test of useful skills, or relevant skills. Tatami is not intended to be a simulation of anything, neither is the cutting test itself. It's a test of skill, and tatami is used because of the information it provides and because it is consistent. Yes, consistent. So those are the two reasons we use tatami: information, consistency. It's not a simulation. So, you wanted to say a few words? I think now would probably be the right time.
Did you want to clarify the rule set with the later?
Oh, I was about to go to the rules as opposed to the introduction.
No further.
Okay. So, the skills we're looking to evaluate and the way the rule set hopefully reflects these. First of all, edge alignment. I think the importance of that is obvious. Aim, also relevant to the sword fight, and tested here in large part by the requirement to put a specified number of cuts into a single bat. If your aim is terrible, that's not going to happen well. Versatility, being able to throw lots of cuts and be able to cut well. I'm sure we've all encountered people whose right overhow can cut tatami just fine, and nothing else they throw can cut. And if that person could only score with their right overhow in free fencing matches, you know, the outcome of fights would be very different. That is an indication of what the martial skill set actually is. So we're looking for versatility. Angle control, the angles selected for descending cuts, rising cuts, horizontal cuts, whatnot, they are arbitrary. They are arbitrary. They're not meant to be specific aspects of combat, but being able to hit a specified angle is another test of skill. Trajectory control, the flat trajectory through the tatami tells us that the shot you're throwing, the attack you're throwing, is more likely to be of high efficacy in a real fight situation. And we are also testing power. Being able to cut all the way through the tatami as opposed to getting halfway through with good edge alignment and then not be able to finish is a test of power. The equipment. We have a creasy donated to us by Albion, which is also the first place prize. Right? Mike Edelson sharpened it a lot this morning. It's Mike Edelson. What?
It is not Edelson sharp, but it is sharp.
Yes.
Sharp enough to do this.
Yes. So safety is something we of course have to take seriously. I know all of you well enough to know that. We can trust you from a safety standpoint, but I'm going to read out the safety rules anyways, because the insurance company would like to hear that I've done so. Failure to follow these rules can result in a warning, dismissal from the tournament, or the entire Boston Sword Gathering. We reserve the right to impose penalties without a warning first if circumstances warrant as such. Hopefully I will do no such thing at all during this match. That's my objective. So the safety rules are as follows. Always follow the instructions of the staff promptly and without argument. That's myself, Tristan, Paul, and Sarah. Okay? Always be aware of your surroundings. We've got a small area roped off and spectators far away, which makes that easier to do well. Do not swing the sword if there are people near you, or if you are unsure whether or not there are people near you. Do not cut descending cuts over your leading leg. Yeah, thank you, Edward.
So whether you cut with a step or not, when you are actually doing the cut, this should not be in the way of the sword. You want to see this, or with a step, ending like this.
This is relevant for descending cuts, and doesn't apply for crooked cuts, crump hopper, if you're going to be doing one of those. Ensure that hands and hilts are dry before picking up the sword or cutting. Do not touch the tatami. Our staff will take care of that responsibility in its entirety. There is no reason at any point why any of the competitors should touch the tatami here. All right, if it's crooked and you want us to fix it, tell us. All right, if there's a piece that needs to be cut off, tell us. Well, you don't need to tell us. We'll take care of that. But you understand. All right. So there's going to be a go signal that I give for when you can start cutting. Don't go before that. Always approach the target from the specified direction. So your guys are going to be starting down there and walking this way. And always keep both hands on the sword while cutting. You know, someday in the future, I would love to be able to have slinging as part of our cutting competition. That's not this year. The sword is also capable of damaging the floor, and we have an obligation to not piss off Danvers Indoor Sports. So, you know, keep that in mind as well.
Stomping is a part of control. This is why this is part of the rule set. It's all very well and good if you can accelerate through the target, but if you can decelerate before hitting the ground, you'll be penalized for this.
So, the tournaments can proceed in stages. Each stage has a particular pattern. They get progressively more difficult. And at the end of each stage, we'll also eliminate some of the competitors. As it turns out, there's only 9 of you.
I have a list of 10 here.
Yes. Can you tell me which person's not here?
Yeah. So my list of 10 is Ben Hawkins. See on there?
Yeah.
Ben Hawkins, Ben Jaroshow, Matt Adams.
Okay, Ben Jaroshow.
Okay.
If Ben Jaroshow, we're going together.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. All right. So one of you won't advance to round 2, I think is what's likely to happen given the numbers we're going to have here. And then round 3 we'll have 6. Round 4 we'll have 3 people in it, and then we'll have a winner at that point. So there's going to be a 1-minute timer for each round. If you go beyond the 1-minute timer, then you lose 1 point for the round. Let's see. There's not going to be a signal for that. I don't want people to do anything unsafe because of such a rule. So we're going to make it nice and low key as far as that goes. So everyone gets 1 mulligan for the event. I have just enough time to do that. So you know, when you're done with your pattern at any particular point, you could say, gosh, I don't think I got a good score on that. I'm going to redo it. Yes?
Question. The people who go first will not have the benefit of knowing what happened to everyone else when they decide whether or not to take their mulligan. Would it be permissible to take a mulligan before the advancements are announced?
That's an interesting thought.
That's what we did at Pacific Northwest. I forgot.
It's a relevant point. I guess. That actually makes sense.
I think we should allow it. I think if you feel that you haven't done to the best of your ability, you should know right then and there. But if there is any shadow of a doubt in your mind, I would vote that we'll allow it before the next round is announced.
So, when you're done with cutting your pattern, you're going to put the sword back where you got it from, and then one of our staff will take care of cleaning it as needed while it goes on.
Do not hand the sword to this gentleman who will be cleaning it. You take it off the pillow on the ground, put it back on the ground and the pillow. He will then pick it up. Do not hand it off.
Yeah, this is good. So just to give you a listing of what the standards are in terms of how we're judging things. First of all, there are 2 judges, myself and Tristan. If we must both agree on a particular element before it gets taken as a penalty. If one of us thinks it was, the other thinks it wasn't, no penalty for that. All right, so the standards in terms of what we're looking for, descending and rising cuts should be between 40 and 50 degrees from vertical. Horizontal cuts within 5 degrees of horizontal. That's a typo in here I hadn't noticed yet. Cuts must not cross the path of a previous cut, which creates that mountain shape, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Let's see. So we're looking for flat cuts, no scooping, no scalloping. And in terms of angle variation, scooping, scalloping, those kinds of judging, Tristan and I aren't going to get up from these seats to check. Okay, if it's not obvious from where we're sitting, you're not going to get the penalty for it.
A question
Sure.
about horizontal cuts. What are the criteria for horizontal cuts?
In terms of what the angle is,
I mean, is it this?
we're looking for within 5 degrees of horizontal in either direction.
Parallel with the,
Yep,
with the floor?
parallel with the floor, yes.
Okay.
Again, if it's not quite parallel, it has to be bad enough that it's clear to both of us from over here.
Okay.
So we're not trying to be total hard asses about it. Yes, Mike?
Can the participants ask at the end of their round if there was a penalty incurred?
Yes. We're actually going to be announcing the scores after each participant goes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's cool.
Yeah. Whether or not you step for your cuts is entirely at your discretion. That's not part of the criterion we're looking at. You may not measure distance before the cut. This guy's job is to stand on the side here and tell me whether or not the tip of your sword goes in front of the tummy or not. Yes.
So we'll assume that I'm approaching. For people who like to approach with long point, or any of the whatever variants,
Yeah.
this, you may approach, but not cross this line. Certainly don't be beyond it.
Yep.
If you are going to approach from a guard such as this, it must go up before you reach the tatami. Distance, again, is part of control, part of the criteria for judging.
Yep. So, unintentional cocking, preparatory movements, kinds of things are a penalty. And so, however, if there is a specific way in which you're going to cut where there is some chambering action in the way you cut, then that's not a penalty. So what we're looking for is things that appear to us to be unintentional. So we all know people who do this before they swing their sword. And this dip back before they swing their sword is the kind of thing that's likely to be a penalty. Whereas if you do something like bring it up and then cut, all right, that's fine. That's in part because that's what it says in Meyer. So vertical cuts, we're looking for within 5 degrees of vertical for that. You're going to be cutting these with your Scheitelhaube, okay? A full cut splits this entirely, and there's going to be a rubber band 3 inches down for the top, which is your depth marker, and if you cut that, then you get the penalty for excessive depth. Is that all 3 of those points? Oh yeah, on rising cuts, because of the nature of rising cuts, if the tatami that's on the stand comes off, we're not going to hold that against you. We're just stop the timer, put it back, and you can do your next cut or not, depending on whether or not there's another cut that you still need to do. Let's see. And so one other thing I hadn't mentioned yet is there is a bonus 1 point for the round if you cut entirely with continuous action instead of pauses in between cuts. Okay? If there is a unambiguous pause in your motion in between any 2 cuts, then you don't get that. If there is no visible pause, then you get the bonus. Yay. And that's 1 point for the round. And looking through this, I think we are ready to begin. So, can I get all of the competitors up and in here? Because you guys are going to be hanging out and approaching from that direction. You guys can stay over here. The black area here at the bleachers over there for where you're resting, waiting for your turn. Let me have you all come over here first. Doc's going to take a group picture. Bunching close like you like each other.
I'll make a couple. Smile.
That could be good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. name, Ben Jarshaw's name, because there are two Bens. Right.
So one more quick question.
Sure.
I raised my hand after the third cut?
After the last cut. Not all patterns are 3 cuts.
Okay, after the last cut.
Okay. So, can we go ahead and spike the first mat? I'll tell them what the first pattern is. Where do we go? So, yes. So, for those of you who aren't people who already use this particular standard, the bottom rubber band is at the height of the peg. So if you cut below the bottom rubber band, you're cutting through the peg. Alright, so the first pattern is alternating descending cuts. Okay, the expectation is 3. You can do more until you run out of Tommy, and that will increase your score for the round. If you're intending to do more than 3, A, let me know. B, the 1 minute becomes a hard limit in terms of time. All right, and so that's simply. You can start on your right or your left. It doesn't matter. That's simply 1, 2, 3, and continuing alternating left and right if you're doing extra cuts. Any questions on that pattern? All right, very good. Any questions in general before we begin?
Is there a limitation of screw edge false edge?
In stage 1, no. Stage 1 should be screw edge cuts because it's based on easy scoring. Yes, so there is. Sorry, it took me a moment to get your question out there. So stage 1 is screw edge cuts. Yes, sir.
Any point with the circle, the old circle?
Oh, the yellow circle? No. The white circle is 4 feet out from this, and the piece goes flying outside the white circle. Then that's a penalty. That penalty only exists for descending cuts because you understand the harder cuts are harder. And so we're only going to be thinking about that little thing on the descending cuts. And if it's iffy, if it rolls out, that sort of thing, you're not going to get a penalty for it. The word we're looking for is if the piece goes flying, that's what we're looking for. Yes?
You didn't mention that you can't take them all again.
What's what we get out of the first base cut?
You changed that.
I changed that because I have the materials left. Yes. So, I wasn't sure exactly how many pictures I was going to have until this morning. So, that's how I went. Are we ready to begin? No. Okay. So, you're going to start each round. You're going to go get the sword. You're going to start off the mat. I'm going to say go. You approach. You do your cuts. Right? You step back off the mat. You put the sword down. We calculate the score. Let you know what's going on. The next person goes up. All right. So I'm going to make sure I have a score sheet in front of us. It's actually going to be 1 score sheet per person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Should we make the score public or have them approach and let them know?
I was gonna say that.
so, David Knight, you are first. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. And begin. Go ahead and set it down. And yes.
Can I make a suggestion? When you're cleaning the Tommy schmutz off, either water or WD-40, dry it and then oil. If you're going to do that, it's going to take forever. It's not going to work. You're going to put schmutz on it. It's going to be hard to cut.
There's WD-40 in the black toolbox that's over there. Go ahead and set the sword
Water
down.
works great too if you don't want to make a mess.
What?
Water works great if you don't want to make a mess.
Okay.
So WD-40, then dry it, then.
Well, I'll just say.
A little concerning with the WD-40.
Okay,
We're
so-
not gonna mix this like spray everything. It's gonna be done with water.
Okay, we'll do it with water then. Okay.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can someone prepare water?
I meant to put that out here. Yeah, I forgot. Thank you.
You guys will let me know if you need to actually take a piece to measure your angles, right?
What?
You guys will let me know if you actually need to.
Oh, yeah,
measure
yeah,
your
yeah.
angles, right?
If we can.
Okay. 345 or your whatever.
We're never gonna do that. We're always gonna be eyeballing angles.
Five points from crime penalty, continuous motion.
So that was 6 points, David. Out of 6. All right. And so, Ben Hawkins, I'll have just a second for him to finish what he's doing.
This will get easier as you go on.
Yeah. We'll sort of. Oh, you need to start next time. Right, yes.
Yeah, that's because of
You ready? Begin.
What I've always wanted.
Right. So 6 points for that.
I told you.
Jake.
So we're not starting with right? Okay.
Sure.
Do you want me to volunteer as a spiker? I just need to wipe my hands because it'll go faster.
Okay. Sure. Where I can make you just quick general announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point we are going to start doing the dagger class on the field. This is not the dagger competition. Don't worry, if you're registered for that, that's fine. But the dagger class will be happening on the field. So if you're interested in that, please come over. Thank you.
I'm ready. Begin.
I'd like to use my mulligan.
Okay. It's not really surprising this picture.
Just don't trip over the crease.
One last set. You ready?
Ready.
And begin.
Fine.
Christian, you're next.
Mike, don't forget where the seam is. Can you face the seam down? I know I did that the first time.
About that minute.
Yeah, Mike, on the other side.
Gotcha. All right, start off the green.
Off green, please.
Step back.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, that's it. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
And begin.
I'd like to take one mulligan, please.
Okay.
Are you allowing the Tommy to be straight during the,
Not
Yes.
during the sequence.
if they ask?
If necessary.
Oh,
Okay.
during 1
Yeah.
second?
Yeah, and we'll stop time. Sorry. And are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Begin.
Yeah, but I can't support the cost. I can tell you what month it's free. Well, that's easy. It's just Linux Liberty. What is it in?
So 2 points. And Andrew, you're next.
Why don't we go through?
You're good.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
It's the stand and the peg angle that's really giving problems. Are those pegs thicker than this one?
I believe they're the same diameter.
Let's try one of them anyway. See how it goes.
Nope, they're not in there.
They've got this going for them.
Yeah.
Take a sheet of paper and fold it up.
Yeah, just flatten it out. So check for wobble.
Andrew, you ready?
Yes.
Right. Begin. Thank you.
Nice pegs.
Thanks.
Cool.
It took me nearly several minutes to make them.
Well, not so far. Yeah, so that might be good. They start rolling.
Seven points. Charles Murdoch. Just a quick reminder, if you're planning to do more than 3 cuts, please let us know.
Sorry about that.
Yep. All right. You ready?
Ready?
Begin.
Time. Get on there, please.
Yes.
It's taking small if you heard.
Okay. Yep. You ready?
I'm ready.
And begin.
We're ready this time.
So 5, And Jean Chandler, you're next.
Jean.
Jean. My apologies.
Seriously? Every time? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It comes out.
Sorry.
It's not you, it's the same.
Should plug your stands after this.
Yes. You ready?
Yep.
And begin.
You can take me.
Slow. Six. And Mike Edelson, you're next.
How many points did I get?
Six. Clean your hands.
I'll be trying for more than 3.
Okay. You ready? Begin.
How many was that?
5. Not 5 points, 5 cuts.
Yeah.
And wine. Rooster for 4 months.
Nine points.
This one was on.
Matt, Adam. Okay. There are more.
The fat ones fit in the hole, but they're very hard to spike.
Absolutely. Matt, you're next. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Wherever I go.
Well, those bright red pants were blending in with the background, so I just. You ready?
I go first. Where's the difference?
Yep. And begin. I'm sorry.
No. Can we call that one my fault?
Okay.
Because it was a little more wobbly than I thought.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we'll reset scoring to the round.
Sorry about that.
Are you ready? You may begin. And you may resume.
I take my melody.
You did.
I did.
Wait.
Oh, no, you did not.
Yeah, that's right. You did not. You were not counting that first one against him. Right.
Right. Correct. Okay. Well, then yes, and no.
Yeah. Right. I put out a lot of shirts that I could deal with that when it happens. You ready? You may begin.
We may have to bring out the grinder and some 80 grits and prefix some of these, but we'll get it done.
Okay.
Would a metal spike heads work better?
No. God, nothing metal should ever be used.
Okay.
Would it have worked better? Yes.
Oh.
7 points. And Ben Jarso, you are last for this round. The last person to cut for this round. You ready? You may begin. Right. Next cut. Yes, you'll continue with your next cut. Right.
Thank you.
You may resume.
Straighten out again.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I didn't realize how much difference it was in feed and making multiple cuts. Can I take a mulligan on the first round?
Yes. Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Should be advising you. I think this is the right first time for you. David, you come here a sec real quick. This is a new setup. I don't want to just mess with people, because they're doing a new setup. You don't need to take your mulligan to be able to advance to the next round.
I know.
Okay.
I mean, people are getting like 7 and 9 points.
Right. No more than 7 points per over. Because that's what the nominal scoring is. Right? The additional points above 7 only